behind me is the most beautiful sunset that I want to show you how to paint. So come sail with me. It's going to be fun and relaxing. Let's get started. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing my medium round brush and I'm putting a circle for the sun with white, and then I'm adding yellow on top of that circle. I have placed the sun centered from the sides in the top portion of the canvas. Don't forget that all the supplies that I'm using are in the description. So I'm taking my 1/2 inch flat brush and I'm going to go over the sides with the yellow there and then some white. The wind kind of picked up there and tried to carry off my painting. You can leave your brush strokes loose going around in the circle, or you can blend it however you want. So the more blending, the more it looks realistic, and the less blending, the more impressionistic and playful it'll look. Now I need to color match the orange that I see on the outside of the sun. So I'm going to use the yellow and my magenta and some white, and I'm going to put that around the sides, but I don't want it to be too dark. I want it to be light. So I added a little white to it to lighten it up, and notice how it dulled that color down. That's what white does. And that's okay, because what I want is that sun to be the most saturated or brightest color, and that's all right if the orange is not. Now I've already made the color of the sky. It's with the phthalo blue, white, and some of that yellow to make it into this soft blue. And I'm just going to push that around the circle. So with just really loose brush strokes. And you don't want it to be too much on the green side, so you may need to add a little bit more blue to it and white so that it's just this pastel-y blue color. And notice I'm just being very loose going around that circle. This is a very playful painting. When I'm painting plein air, I like to be really quick so that I can capture the feeling in the colors. You can work slower than I am and add in more detail to make it more realistic. So now I've taken the brilliant blue and I've added some white to it, and I added it to the edge of the sky. I'm also using to add a horizon line right below the sun. And notice how I'm not going to take out all of the color of that sun, and I'm just going to work my way up so that I've taken half of that glow of the sun and I've made it the reflection on the water. All of the brush strokes I'm using are going across in a choppy way. So now I've grabbed my phthalo cyan blue and I'm moving the dark in from the edges. And notice how none of my lines just go all the way across. They're very choppy, and if you look back, they're starting to look more like water. And also notice that I'm adding like 3 or 4 different colors of the blue. So I've got my darkest value and my lightest value and a couple of values in between. And some of those colors are coming from the sky. So I'm just taking the colors from that sky and putting it down into the ocean, because that's what will happen in nature. So not only are you going to have the choppiness of the water, but also the same colors from the sun in the water. So that's why I'm going to grab that pinky peach orangish color and I'm going to add that right below where that sun would be reflecting off of the water there. The wind is getting really crazy. So I'm just going to take those colors and kind of do a little bit of blending here. And I still have the same brush. Notice how going over one area more than once really blends it and softens it. If you want your waves to be more choppy, you don't want to do that. I'm going to bring some of those lighter colors down there in the middle. So I'm going to grab some of that light yellow and just add it to the center area, right below the sun where it reflects off the water. So because I'm painting plein air, I can't wait for my colors to dry underneath, so there may be some mixing that happens. Now, if you're having troubles with that, you can just let yours dry and then go over the top with the colors that you want. So see how this orange kind of did some mixing with the blue and made it a little bit more of a a muddy color, and that's okay. I'll go in and fix that after the paint dries. So I'll add it to a few areas, again with those choppy brush strokes going across. Very easy. You can tell I'm being very loose with my brush strokes, especially in the water, to make it more playful. Now I'm going to add in that dark blue, and I'm going to work from the edges inward. So when you are closer to the sun or further away, then those waves will be closer together and they'll be thinner. And then as you go down your canvas, they're going to be more separated and thicker. And with the dark blue, what we're doing is creating the shadow areas of the waves. So just follow along with me working on your canvas, starting at the top, moving into the middle, and then going down to the bottom of your canvas and adding in that shadow area, working along the edges first and pulling in. Because remember, the middle part is going to be the lightest area where the reflection of the sun is on the water. So the sun in front of me in real life has gone down. So now I know I have the colors and what I want on there. Now I'm just going to be looking at the shapes out there, the shapes of the waves, and I'm copying those now. Light, values, feelings, and then shapes. And really getting the dark waves on the outside of your canvas there and pulling them in to become lighter in the center, or leaving the light underneath in the center, is really going to help create the focus or the focal point in that painting as the sun and the reflection. So up there on that horizon line, you want to make sure that it's straight across, and I'm leaving a gap right underneath the sun. So I'm not going to just make a solid line across. I want the sun's reflection to kind of just melt into this water and then carry you all the way down. You can use something that has a flat edge, to help you get a nice straight horizon line, because maybe one side's a little bit lifted than the other, and then that will help you out. And just as I said before, just make sure you don't make a solid line all the way across. You want to let some of that yellow show underneath and melt right into the water. So I brought up my horizon line to fit the rule of thirds. If you don't know about the rule of thirds, that's in my art lessons. And you can get those in the upper right hand corner, or go to Create Full Art on Patreon. There's also a link in the description. So now I'm just getting those tiny little waves in the back and pulling forward. So remember, they're closer together and thinner back there, and then they come forward and they start getting thicker and further apart and more inconsistent. So that's what nature is showing me out there, and that's what I'm copying. I'm going to darken the edges of the sky right there on those corners, just to kind of bring your eye inward. This is all the composition, personal preference parts of your painting, where you just kind of add what it is you like and what you see needs to change. So if you want this painting to go more on the realistic side, all you do is have to add more detail than what I'm doing. Mine's more impressionistic, so it's not going to be as detailed, but that's okay. And there's always like different styles and different ways we like to do things. If you want to loosen up your work, then don't get tight. Just keep it loose like I'm doing. Don't worry about it being perfect. So I'm bringing in those sides also with some of the dark. When I come forward to the very bottom there, I'm going to work on a slant so that it kind of looks like the water is closer. So notice how I am not going across anymore. I'm going to go from the bottom to that right side at a slant. And now that my muddy color has dried, I can now add that peachy color right back in. Yay! So see how it just sits on top? And I'm just going to put it in those areas. And again, add a slant. And very loose. And it's just going to add a little bit more of a glow, warm it up, make it shinier. I'm going to focus down there at the bottom because as the waves come forward, there's actually more glow on the water as I'm seeing it out there. So sometimes the glow is more in the back of the water, but actually the back of the water is darker, and then as it came forward, it gets lighter. So I'm going to copy that because it has a different feeling to it. Now I'm going to work on the shapes in my sky. Now this is again personal preferences. You can get more detailed if you want to have more of a realistic looking ocean painting. And you can be as loose as you want if you want more of an impressionistic painting. I'm going to brighten up my sun. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to add white over part of the sun there just to brighten it up. And I'm using my round brush for this. And now I'm going to grab my yellow and go on the edge, make it more rounded. And that yellow is the saturated color, so it's right from the tube. It's my cadmium yellow. And I'm going to shape that sun in more of a circle, and then I'm going to blend it into that white. So more brush strokes means more blending. And see how it just brightens that up. Your painting may not need this, but mine did. So again, this step is for personal preferences and making the changes that you want to your painting. So in my sky, see how it's kind of choppy right there all around it? I'm gonna blend that better so that it's not so choppy and soften it. I can blend when the background's already dry by adding thin layers over the top of color and using a dry brush. Now you can also glaze, but I am going to use a dry brush because I want those colors to be a little bit more opaque and blend it in how I wish. So I'm going to go around in a circle with that yellow and then pull it all the way to the edges of the glow of the sun. When you look back at my painting, you can see that I'm adding more glow to the sun by pulling that glow further away from the sun in a circle. You can blend this how much you want to, or leave loose brush strokes. It all depends on your personal preferences. And you can pull out your light strokes, your light yellow strokes, as far as you want. You can go all the way to the top if you like, or the edges, or just leave it closer to the sun. Okay, so you're probably finished by now, unless you have some other personal preferences you want to change. I have a few things that I want to tweak on my painting as well. And this is a great step for you to add in your own personal style. So if you're struggling to find your own style or to even know what your personal preferences are, then I recommend getting my weekly art lessons. They're going to help you become a confident artist. They're going to teach you the skills you need to know, the things in composition you need to know so that every painting you paint has a great composition, doesn't look awkward or weird. Also your brush strokes, like maybe you're having a hard time getting your brush strokes to look the way that you want. My weekly art lessons are to help you with all this so that you don't have to struggle anymore. You can love painting and your paintings. So that's my goal for you, and that's why I give those weekly art lessons. I really want to help you find joy in painting. You can certainly create whatever it is you want to create, just like I can. So check out those weekly art lessons right there in the upper right hand corner or in the description, or go to patreon.com/createplart. Thank you for watching and relaxing with me. I hope you had a good time. I love painting with you. Can you help me out by hitting that like button and then sharing this with your friends so that we can spread the joy that painting can bring to more people? And if you haven't subscribed yet, that's important too, and make sure you hit that bell next to the subscribe button so you can actually see the videos that I'm making. You can watch more videos if you like, and I'll see you in my next video.